Welcome to Script to Screen's Talks podcast. Script to Screen is a charitable organisation dedicated to developing the craft and culture of storytelling for the screen in Aotearoa, New Zealand. This talk series brings the creative community together to hear inspirational speakers talk about their creative process, craft, philosophy, and the creative landscape. Script to Screen is pleased to share with you The Moon is Upside Down, recorded at a live Wellington talk on the 26th of June 2024. Following the recent New Zealand release of The Moon is Upside Down, writer-director-actor Loren Taylor joins Duncan Sarkies to discuss her writing process. They cover the challenges of creating stories and characters, and how she and her team move this unique and beautifully crafted feature from her initial idea to production and release. With a production schedule of just 22 days and a budget of $1.5 million, The Moon is Upside Down is a significant achievement.
Hi everyone, I'm Duncan Sarkies. My father is from Armenia and came here via India, and my mother is from Scotland, and I spent the first 20 years of my life in Otapoti and then shifted up here to Te Whanganui, Atara. And I'd like to acknowledge the mana whenua of Otapoti as Ngāi Tahu, and to acknowledge, I guess I spent most of my time in Wellington in the South Coast area, so acknowledge the mana whenua there as Te Ātiawa. Hi, Loren.
G'day, Doug.
Do you want to just crack in?
Yeah, shall we? Yeah. Kia ora tātou, everybody.
I really loved your film. Loren, can I just start with a few greatest hits from your script? Because I was so lucky. Loren, she wouldn't let me watch the film a second time. It wasn't your fault. It was I wasn't allowed though. But I was allowed to read the screenplay, and that was really exciting to read and see the difference between the original screenplay and what ended up on our screens. And that is really exciting to read. And I've got a few greatest hits. So because people they will all realise that you're a great writer if they saw the film, but they might not realise those little details that you put in there. So I just wrote some of my favourites. The big print, do people know what I mean? When I say big print, I mean all the stuff that's not dialogue. Loren writes that really well, just so you know. She never mentions camera angles, medium close-ups. She just tells a story. So here's some examples. Briar breathes like she's having contractions, fast and shallow, faster and faster, angry breathing, puts her hands around the bird's neck. The hawk lunges weakly. Briar puts a hand over its eyes. It goes still. Briar breathes deeply and then, fierce, sudden, breaks the hawk's neck. It's great writing. It's like you find the poetry. It's brutal, but it's really great. Or the opposite of that. Tim looks like his joke backfired and he got a visual picture he didn't want. I'll reel off a few of these, but I do ask you to talk to any of them. I love this one. Right from the opening of the film, reason for visit, this is customs. Reason for visit, business or pleasure? Business, I'm getting married. That was brilliant, Loren. That one was brilliant. Like you kicking off the... Yeah, it was.
I was worried it was a bit expositional. I genuinely was. I was like, oh, is it a bit on the nose? But no, clearly not.
You've gone beyond exposition. You've gone beyond exposition. No, it's so right in your face. It's so great. Little lines. There's little lines are peppered throughout her script. I guess a human isn't wild anymore, is it? I loved that one. Little jokes that she finds that no one else, I think, would be capable of thinking of. Being at a funeral where some music is playing, California Dreaming, or some funeral music is playing on Bluetooth, and suddenly the Addams Family ringtone comes on because someone's getting a phone call.
We couldn't afford the Addams Family ringtone.
What did you go for?
We had a synthesizer thing that was free on, one of those Spotify freebies. Yeah.
Little lines like this. I try to breathe through my mouth when I'm at the pumps. Zero chance of getting addicted that way.
That belongs to my friend Glenn Moore. I will not take credit for that. That's one of my collaborators. There's a few of his little lines, and that's one of his.
Okay,
gorgeous. So I like that one.
It's a beauty, that one. This is one. This is one I absolutely loved. You started a scene clearly after the characters. Before the camera started, said, I love you. One character said to the other character, I love you. Then the scene starts. So we don't we don't ever see "I love you," but we immediately see the impact of someone saying "I love you," and that is like an elephant in the room of that whole conversation. It's brilliant writing. It's really, really good. How do you do? Are you cope okay with compliments?
No, can you tell? But thank you, Doug. My heart is happy to hear it. Thank you.
After a character jizzes on an I key, he says, "A vowel. Fuck, it would be a vowel." That's probably the worst letter to leave some fluid on, I'd imagine.
To be fair with that one too, I had to get some help writing that scene from two of my friends because I said I'm a bit of a prude as a person. Not prude, just shy maybe. And I said, I feel like I need some help with that, guys. And my friends are like, happily. So, yep.
That was great. This line, and an amazing scene in a car. "You're rich, yes? Well, I suppose so. Do something good with what you have before you die. There is no excuse to avoid that." Now, just like Loren's script is just so amazing that just in every, like that one line encapsulates 1/3 of the whole film. You know, like that's that character's story in a nutshell in one line, but we wait until we've earned that line. You know, it's like you didn't hit us with that at the start. You drop it in at the end. So, okay, no more compliments because you're just not coping with it.
A lot of compliments. Okay, criticism starts now. Ready.
Okay, so I want to chat a little bit about structure because I've either read or avoided my fair share of how to write a film books, and I've also read some how to write a novel books. And there's such a huge difference in the how to write a film books to the how to write a novel books across the board. How to write a film is all about, you know, here, put your inciting incident here, put this here, put that there, put that there. This should happen before that. And then your lead can, you know, and so we've got, it is very prescriptive, Save the Cat and all of them. They've been around. Then, on the other hand, I've read these books on how to write a novel that are just going, they're so the opposite. I can't believe it. You know, they're just like, just find a character and just follow them and see what they want to do. And so we've got these two extremes. And I want to quote, because we've been talking about George Saunders. We both like George Saunders.
We do.
He's a novelist. He's amazing. This is a quote from an interview he said. I'm going to ask you to find out which camp and where you sit with this and how you work. But this is what he said. He said, "The most fun is to start a story and you don't know what's going to happen, to confuse yourself and see where it's going to go. Then he says, if I know what I'm going to do and I just do it, it's a big buzzkill. And then he says, it's condescending. If I have a story and I know what it is and I just tell it, it ends up being a bit of a lecture." So that's George Saunders. So look, this is complex stuff because obviously, well, I guess that's my question is where are you at? We've got a continuum from heavy structure over there to no structure over there. Where do you sit and where did you sit with this particular project? And do you know the answer to that question?
I kind of want you guys to take a vote. Like, what do you guys reckon? Having watched it, never read screenwriting books either, and yeah, I'm in the George Saunders camp. So I was really just feeling into it and hunting along, as you can probably tell a bit from the film. Yeah.
Well, we can tell from the poetry of the film.
Right.
But at a certain point, there appears to be structure there because they all do follow a natural order of things. But what is it? Is it the order of a short story or what is it?
I think, because originally I wanted to make a multi-narrative film because I love them. And maybe because my initial inspiration was my sister's book of short stories. She's a beautiful writer. And so I think maybe those two, they married each other very nicely. And I think the thing I love about short story, which is the same thing I realized that I love about multi-narrative films, is that there's lots of space for the audience to be able to enter the world and sort of pick your own path or kind of choose your own, feel your way into it. So I think that's why
Was it more intimidating or less intimidating a multi-narrative? Because
I'd never read any screenwriting books, I didn't realize it was a really stupid thing to do. Like people are like, "Oh my God, you made a multi-narrative film." And I was like, "Yes." And then now that I've talked to people about it, I'm like, people, you normally don't want to have a crack at that until you've made maybe a few. So I blindly, innocent, naively went into it just because I love the form. Yeah.
And there'll be people in this audience that some will be going, I've already put a whole lot of cards on the wall. What are these guys telling me? Do I have to put them down? And so they're having a heart attack right now.
I did do cards, though. I did have cards.
Okay. Well, tell us about that process then.
Yeah. So it's not like I was just, kind of wandering around, just kind of scribbling things on paper, though. You should, like, my notes for this stuff, I was saying to Jane.
She was. When she says it wasn't like she was, it is like she was.
I have a worry that I forget things, so I do write notes down. But I definitely, maybe, and it's coming from writing from being an actor, is I think that I sort of have to feel into it and then feel into the emotional sort of continuity of the character. So I'm kind of making sure that it makes sense, kind of in a.
So when did you put the cards on the wall?
So after I've done that. So after I feel like I felt into the bodies of the characters, and then I'll go, okay, let's have a look at the scenes and go, oh no, and so it's sort of, so yeah.
When you say I fell into the bodies of the character, and I totally get that as an actor, but what did that actually mean as a writer?
I think sort of sitting there and becoming the character and thinking about how they speak and what they feel and what they're expressing and what they're hiding from themselves and each other, and just kind of exploring that sort of. Discovering
through the act of writing or in your head?
Through the act of writing that is sort of also in your head.
Oh yeah, there's not one or the other.
Yeah, I think definitely tons of drafts, yeah.
So describe for us the early processes. Are you by yourself, or do you have other people with you helping you, or you've got this idea for these 3 storylines? I don't know. Can you talk me through the start of that?
Yes, because I'd love to, because I have people beside me with it that I'd love to speak to. So yeah, my sister, the story of Briar and Tim and the Bird, it comes from one of her short stories in her book Relief. And so I took that. And then she had another story about someone who had ashes and was travelling with ashes. So I took that. And then I was working with a friend, Glenn Moore, who had a story that actually belonged to Catherine Bisley, who became my director's attachment, which I didn't realise at the time, which was a true story about a mail order bride who went to rural Wairarapa. Was it Wairarapa? Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to make a film about a mail order bride. And he was like, well, why don't we explore it? So we explored that for a little bit together.
When you say we explored that together, how did you explore that?
Talked about it, kind of wrestled about it a bit. That was sort of sitting in a room and a bit of chatting and a couple of scenes back and forth. And then he moved away and I was allowed to keep it, which was great. And so, and from then it was kind of a solo process for me for a long time, kind of finding the characters.
What did that involve? Did it literally involve turning up every day to your computer, or what? What was your habit?
Yes, sitting down and writing, and then going for walks and writing, and lying on the floor and writing. And
how did you make yourself do the writing?
I actually love it.
Do you?
Yeah, I really love it. It's such a pleasure. I think.
Are you really saying that the whole thing, writing it, was a pleasure?
No, I mean, disgusting, horrible, and a nightmare.
Yeah.
but I do love it. Like, I love it more than I find it disgusting. I find it extraordinary. Yeah.
So you had a sort of structure, but what about getting lost? Did you get lost?
Yes, terribly lost.
So what did you do when you get lost?
Go for walks, lie down. One of my favourite stories, because it's true and it's kind of amazing, is I was so stuck with the story of Natalia and I didn't know what to do with her. And I was having days of just feeling like, it's terrible, stupid to just stop. And then I had this very vivid dream that she was, spoiler, hit by a milk tanker. And there was milk everywhere. And I just completely dreamt that scene, and then woke up in the morning and then Googled milk tankers crashing. And sure enough, Google is full of images of milk tankers crashing all over Aotearoa. It's wild. And so I thought, okay, my producers are never going to say yes to me doing this. So I called my beautiful friend Eric Winquist, who's a weta genius who did Planet of the Apes and is a marvellous friend, collaborator, human, and said, is there any way that if we possibly, if we did it really far away, like a tiny milk tanker? And he said yes, and Weta said yes, and so I got to put my dream into the film, which is awesome.
So did that, by having that, did that mean you were able to write, trying to get yourself to that point? Did it help give you some kind of momentum in your storytelling or something?
I think,
you could feel a target ahead.
I think so. Yeah. I think I'd sent her out of the house and she was hitching, so I'd already got her to there, and then I hit her with a truck. But it actually didn't hit her with the truck because I changed it. She nearly got hit by a truck.
Yeah.
She was dead for a while. She was dead for a couple of weeks. And then I was like, we can't kill her. She's my favourite.
Yeah, because we would have been gutted.
Yeah, we would have. So I resuscitated her.
Yeah.
And now
We
she's
love her.
alive. And with the cows, anyway.
And okay. So and then what? The same for the other two characters. You're writing, getting lost, seeing something ahead, and at a certain point you put cards up on a wall. Is that what you're describing?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah. Yeah, the Briar character, because that was my sister's short story pretty much exactly, except I flipped it. It was the guy who killed the bird, and I thought, what happens if I make the lady kill the bird? Because I had recently had to kill a mouse and went through the experience of not someone who doesn't like killing things. I'd killed a mouse and then killed a sparrow and was kind of in relationship with mercy killing. And so I felt like, okay, so other than that, that story was pretty much hers.
If you saw a wounded animal now, would you?
Kill it quickly. If it was wounded mortally. I now have the power to do it. I didn't for a long time. I had to get someone else to do it, but now I can.
You've become very courageous. That's one thing you've learned out of
Well, exactly. How to kill a wounded animal. Wow.
Okay.
Oh dear. Sorry, guys.
Now, I think I know what you're going to say here because you sort of hinted at it before we began. But what do you think? So you've got these three stories and they're all got lead female protagonists. What do you think? What links those stories? Why those three stories?
Well, I don't really know. I think they sort of arrived, and Faith arrived and Natalia, like they had Briar first, and then Faith arrived and Natalia arrived, and then I think for a while I was exploring. I was trying to explore the wounded feminine, and I was interested in exploring like old age and sickness and death and impermanence, and I don't know. I was thrashing around all over the place, and in the end, I just felt like I sort of sat with them, and I guess what they've got in common, I guess, is that they are all trying to find a way out, and they, and kind of into transformation in one way or another. They sort of do it at different stages, I think. So I answered that question.
No, but I mean, and that's what I guess what you said to me is, because what was that quote? You said a quote.
I've got a quote, guys, and I've written it down because my brain is a little slow. It says, it's from Stephen Cleary, who, I don't know if you guys know him, he gave me a round of notes. He's a marvellous person. He had worked on the film Before the Rain, which is the reason why I wanted to make a multi-narrative film. And he said the thing that's one element that, where is it? Yes. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, and the meaning has to be constructed by the viewer, and they have to find the meanings and the parallels and echoes themselves. And there is often a truth above and beyond the individual characters within the individual stories. So it offers the audience a kind of a universal worldview. And I really love that
And you were happy to sort of leave that for other people to figure out, but to just follow your gut, that your gut's telling you to follow these three people.
Yeah,
and just trusting it. But then you won't be able to help but make little connections as you go in the writing process.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Because they're all reckoning. They're all going through some kind of reckoning.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Okay, so multiple storyline writing, challenges, learnings, favourite aspects. What have you learned from having taken on that form, or what do you love about that form, and what have you found hard about that form?
The hardest bit about it was actually not being able to entirely shoot what was in the script as far as how they all kind of link up. So I kind of had that thing of how a script is written and dies and is born and dies 3 times or whatever. Born onto the page and then dies when you're filming it, and then born and then dies in the edit and born again. Something.
I actually haven't heard that.
Have you not heard that?
Horrific.
I'm looking at you, Annie. I feel like it's I don't know if it's a Walter Murch quote or something. Anyway, right. I think it's true. So yeah, I think there was lots of deaths of and I would love to have a chance to have the budget and the time and to get to shoot it so I can intersect in a way that is utterly satisfying.
Are you saying that because what was interesting also, the script that I read that clearly got funding and read beautifully, and I see totally why it did as well, but it still was serial, SERIAL storytelling. It wasn't, they weren't intercut. It was one story, then a second story, then a third story. And I guess, when did that huge change happen?
In the edit.
So you'd already filmed everything. So you filmed it assuming it's going to be this story, then this story, and this story.
Yeah, and I think I think I knew enough about an edit to know that who knows what would happen, that it could possibly shift and change. But
when did it become clear? What was
pretty quickly. Yeah.
Is it because everyone loves Natalia and you just needed her at the front?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think she was. I felt like she was the heart of the film, so I felt like that. But also, I think rhythmically, just wanted to play with rhythm a bit. I think I was interested in playing with kind of off rhythm. Sort of. Yeah. So it was a rhythm. It was really a rhythm issue. And yeah, my editor Simon was like, "This seems like, why don't we just give it a crack?" And then it was very clear the minute we gave it a crack that it was how we wanted to proceed.
Got it.
Yeah.
But I assume you wouldn't take back writing it the way you did, right?
No. And I think I would have needed to, because I think it's to do with that thing of the emotional kind of continuity of the characters. So I feel like it needs to.
So you had all this material to work with.
Yeah.
And that must have been a pretty complicated process, I'd imagine, finding the balance of that, right?
Yeah. Yes, she says, boringly. Yes, it was complicated. Yeah.
No office stories about that?
Probably millions of them. I ended up becoming a mum at the same time to an adopted child at the same time as I was editing the film. It wasn't, the reason I took a low budget was so I could make the film before I became a mum, but the world said, no, international pandemics are going to speed up international adoption. So 5 days after you wrap the film, you're going to go to Bangkok and pick up your 2-year-old. And then you're going to try and edit a film with a 2-year-old in the evenings. For 2 years while she doesn't sleep. So it was a very, very, very difficult process. And bless Simon Price for being beside me and willing to work when he could in between grab moments. So, I mean, it was a long time ago, and it was a bit strange. Wasn't an ideal process creatively, just because of the...
Because you feel great now because it's all come out, but you've forgotten how hard it probably was.
Yeah, it's insane.
But it must have been exciting as well.
Yeah, wonderful.
Rebuilding this thing.
Yeah, wonderful.
Well, there's no getting around the amount of bad sex. I think there's a bad sex competition. I think there's a competition in the world where you can enter the worst sex scenes ever. You know.
Yeah, I need to know.
I think I hope that includes brilliant bad sex scenes, not just like badly done sex scenes.
Right. Yeah. Right.
You know,
Okay. Purposefully bad sex scenes. Yeah.
So, can you talk me through what led you to go there? Because it was such an interesting place to go to, and it bore fruit. It was amazing to watch, cringeworthy, and all kinds of, it was such an experience.
I think maybe having been an actor and having done sex scenes, I know there's actors here, having done sex scenes, the reality of doing a sex scene is so profoundly awkward and strange. That maybe that was also part of my mind when I was writing, is that if I think of it, because I'm sort of writing in the character, I'm kind of like, I sort of know how it would feel to actually do it. So maybe that's part of it. But also I think as having been an actor and having to do these kind of gorgeous erotic kind of, just doesn't feel very true to me either. It's like, I feel like one of my jobs, I would like to see films where I'm seeing things I don't normally get to see. Like I want to see women with periods, and I want to see the bits of sex that are normally left way out of the frame. I'd rather have a look at them because I think it's also, there's so much vulnerability and heart. That's sort of where I'm interested in how vulnerable we are as creatures, and I feel like that's one of the places, because it's funny, but also it can be a place of enormous vulnerability.
So you were always writing a line between clearly comedy, but this is clearly, if it took 2 more steps that way, we wouldn't believe it. Right, so you're constantly on that line.
I like that line, yeah. It's my favourite line.
What were your inspirations in terms of, like, are there people whose films you love that write that kind of line?
And as far as the sex scenes go?
In the world, anything doesn't have to be sex exclusive.
Let me think. There's so many films that inspire me. Like, I really loved Toni Erdmann. Do you guys see that film, Toni Erdmann? I adored that. Wonderful German. She's a German director. Marvelous, and kind of like a really kind of incredibly funny, upsetting, kind of marvelous stuff. Loved that.
I had a Kaurismäki vibe when I watched your...
People have said that to me, and it's films that I haven't managed to catch.
When I watched it, a woman behind us, she immediately said when it finished, I think she lacked, she just said, well, that was bleak, and it was like, yeah, it was bleak. I really enjoyed how bleak that was. Some people like bleak and some people are not into bleak. But it was bleak.
I think it
was hopeful, wasn't it?
I'd like to think so. I was raised, I didn't have a TV, and I was raised on, like, my mum, rushed, like Solaris and Stalker with the film, and Red Shoes with the films. I was kind of raised on those really, very European, deeply sort of existential kind of films. So that's my kind of foundation, is in those kind of films. And then obviously life has seemed to sort of show me when I've been really having miserable times that it's often very funny. So I think that's sort of come in. And I think they do bleak clown. Those films do bleak clown. I mean, there's that line about desperation is the origin of comedy. Do you guys know that line? I don't know who said it, but yeah, desperation is the origin of comedy, maybe.
Yeah, I saw a talk by the person who made Robot Dreams, and he said, my favourite kind of comedy is tragicomedy, because he felt that reflects our life experience. And I feel like you've got a real dial into that.
What I hope, and I is that it's sort of, I feel like it's empathy. Like I feel incredibly empathetic. Like I really love my characters. I was so appalled when I found out that lots of people think Tim's a real asshole, and I was like, what? He's having a terrible time. And was like, so it's interesting. It's also interesting to me. Why am I mentioning that? I can't remember. Anyway,
well, I mean, I'm very happy to go over into that place because you do take characters that in other people's hands would either be cliche, like a Russian bride, or you'll take characters that would be incredibly, that would be hard to empathise with Faith, the Faith character and the world she comes from. And you manage to really inhabit them and explore something really interesting with them. How was that process? Let's start with Faith. So that process of empathy with someone that, I'm having a guess here, is quite different from you, or certainly starts the film with quite different values from your own. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how do you dive in there and find that empathy?
I reckon, again, it's probably having been an actor where you play whoever you're playing, you kind of have to be able to feel for them and sort of understand them. So maybe it's that. And I also feel like brain gone.
Was the first time you wrote her, was she already like singing off the page, or did it take a few goes to get the feeling of her? Did she start? Was the first times you wrote her feel a little bit cliche-y, or was she always there from the start? You could feel her.
Maybe I feel like I know quite a few, that there's that particular kind of class of women that feel very lonely to me. So I feel like I already kind of had a bit of a sense of her. But I think I would have definitely worried about cliche at some point or other. Yeah.
It's hard to avoid. It's part of the process. And that's what rewriting is for, right?
Yeah. But I figure if I love them enough and if it's detailed enough, then I can avoid, that's how I can stay safe. If I keep it detailed enough, I think that's what my brain says about it.
And talk to that. When you say the detail of writing, what do you mean?
I think it is loving loving all of the little things, like paying attention to all the little things. There's that beautiful quote that says, paying attention is that's our job, is to pay attention. And I kind of feel like if you lucky enough to get to make a film or to write a film, then your job is to really, really look like so closely and make sure that you're getting all of it.
I often think that specificity, whenever I'm speaking to writers that are newer to this game, I'll always encourage them, specificity is your friend. The more you can be specific about a bunch of details, you can leave it out later, but as much as possible, really get into the nitty-gritty and know entirely what their house looks like, their wardrobe looks like, everything looks like.
Yeah. And maybe I'd like to put Tina Cleary, my dear director's mentor, darling friend who taught me how to direct and who I worked with for many years in the casting room. I feel like often we had scripts that weren't very, good, just like, scripts for rubbishy, fast TV stuff or commercials. And that the only way that we could bring them alive, and I watched her do this, and it's how I kind of learned it, I think, is that you would have to make it, like find the detail, like hear the fly buzzing or bring it alive in some way. So I think that was very much in the front of my mind.
And your script is full of them, they're not just in the film. There's details of, bumblebees hitting windows and all kinds of, moths, a lot of animals basically. Animals, yeah. But that's a natural theme of the piece. And what about? I think it's impossible to watch your film and not fall in love with Natalia. How did you find her? What was because I assume you've never been a mail order bride.
No.
So
no,
how
not yet.
did you research, or did you just go through a big empathy thing?
Researched my socks off, and there's some amazing documentaries. Like, as I said, when I was given the idea, I was like, this just feels like a cliche. Like, I'm not interested in this. And then I watched some documentaries just on YouTube and was just so struck by, documentaries are amazing. There are these remarkably complex, beautiful, interesting people, and
they force you not to bullshit then when it's you doing it.
Yeah, I think so. And my background, I've got abuse in my personal background, and I sort of feel like there was a way that I could kind of speak to some of the, the trauma that some of those women are carrying. So I could she was a place I could speak to that in a gentle way as well.
She was strong and gentle and amazing. Yeah. She sings off the page. Obviously, you got an incredible actor for her, like. That aspect was,
yes.
You must have been overjoyed.
I was. A magic thing happened. We cast, do you know the films Cold War and Ida, the Powell Poklowski films? So we got Agata, who was the lead in Ida and who's Ida. We got her, but then it was COVID, and so we couldn't have her. And I was like, this is a disaster, this extraordinary actress. This is my chance to work with her. And then we had to get someone closer to home. And so rang our friend who's a casting person in Australia and said, are there any Russians in Australia? And she said, well, there's two actually. And one of them was Victoria, and I Skyped her for like 3 hours.
Because this really is a Skype interview situation where that would be helpful, right?
Yeah. And she's ferocious and extraordinary and tiny. When I Zoomed her, I felt like she was probably kind of a 6-foot woman. And then she quarantined to come and be with us. And so she arrived on set straight out of quarantine, and I'm a runt, and she's even smaller than I am. And it was like she's a remarkable person.
That feels like fate, doesn't it?
It really did. Yeah, it really did. She really, and we had a great recognition.
Can you tell us about the scene? There's a really remarkable scene, a hugely emotional scene between her character, Natalia, and Faith in a car at the end. And if I'm not mistaken, I feel like I've heard some scuttlebutt that was one of the final things you filmed or something like that, and you only had one take, or I don't know, is this all rumour or is this not true?
No, we had 3 takes.
Okay, so talk me through that, because that was obviously clearly must have been a magic experience full of all the sheer fears that you have about the filmmaking process, and then that happens. Can you talk me through that? The
beauty of those 2 actresses is they're like such virtuoso, and they also they have a theatre background. So I felt very like I knew that they were so in their characters in the scene. We never rehearsed it. We did a read through in the trailer beforehand, and we never really got to rehearse any of them because we didn't have time. 22-day shoot. And so, we just kind of hit it, and it was just extraordinary. Like they just sort of arrived, and on the third, I think, it was the 3rd take, which is the one in the film, the sun came in, and I'd gone out to Wainui, and I'd been trying to time out, like doing both the lines and timing it to figure out where we needed to start on the road to close the road off, because I couldn't rehearse it with them, and it was so touch and go that in that last take, they hit the gravel road just in the last line. And the sun came in, and it was like, cinema God's been great to me and us. Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a really, I feel like, like I watched that and I go, yep, that's just how it was in my head. Like, good, it's such a treat to get that. I feel like it all works just right.
And then I think, is it right that you originally cast our friend Cohen as the role that Jermaine ended up playing?
Yeah.
Cohen would have been beautiful, but there was a beautiful performance from Jermaine and something. And once again, that character is so strongly in the writing. Everything I've read, I've got highlights packages that I didn't read from lines you wrote for that character. It was so well formed. I don't know. I'm trying to picture you directing them, but are you just going to say it was great casting and be modest? Or
no, I directed the hell out of Jermaine, didn't I, Tina?
Can you talk me through that?
No, I didn't. He knew from Eagle vs. Shark that I had a finger that if he starts pushing for comedy, I point a finger at him, and he's not allowed to do it. So when
It's a comedy finger.
I have a comedy finger, which is too much comedy, Jermaine, and he comes back down. So I had that. We actually cast Joel Tobeck first and he couldn't do it. And then we cast Cohen and he couldn't do it. And Jermaine famously is like, I get to be. I was third time lucky. But yeah, I think but maybe because I know him very well and have known him forever.
We both know he's awkward, so he
could do that, which is why I sort of hadn't want to cast him in the first place. But he was marvellous. And I feel like his sensitivity and tenderness, some of the scenes with him and Natalia, the bedroom scenes, I feel like they're just so beautiful.
They really are. There's a gentleness.
Yeah.
I think what's so fascinating about what you've written is that you've written such a thing where it's kind of like people are talking to Natalia like she should be grateful that it's not worse. There's something wrong with her for thinking that she deserves a cafeteria or whatever it might be, or to not be with a blind person, or to, but because everyone's nice and she's sorted, it's that. So you spoke beautifully to that sort of be grateful aspect. Okay. Let's talk about politics, shall we?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Well, no one likes a lecture, do they?
No.
And somehow you managed to be both political but not.
Had a lot of scenes out.
I mean, I know that you're not into milk from watching it, but so I suppose
I'm allergic to dairy and have been since I was 5. Yeah,
but I guess I'm interested in how you dealt with that sort of fine line of being someone that has a political point of view and has a voice and something to say, but somehow being able to rein yourself in and not go too hard in the lecturing department. How did you do it? What was did that come up as a thing that you were dealing with at times? Or
yes. And yeah, we had to cut quite a bit of my lecturing out.
So you did sort of often write in a lectury way, or you had material that felt lectury?
I think maybe I had some material that felt a bit lectury. Like, yeah, I think I did. So I felt like I definitely had a soapbox in my brain. It was like, okay, I want to deal with, industrial agriculture and the housing crisis and privilege and colonization and patriarchy. Like, good Lord.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing because we want to go there, right? Yeah. But then it's the lecture. So I thought the movie The Triangle of Sadness was incredible, where you got the Russian capitalist and the American communist.
That a great scene?
It was just an incredible
scene.
It couldn't have been more didactic, but yet because it was a debate and because literal poo was flying all around the boat.
So marvellous. I stood up and clapped when I watched that.
Yeah,
incredible.
I cheered.
My wish is my next film is going to be more political. Yeah. Like I feel like this one I was sort of a bit nervous and I didn't quite know what I was doing, but this time
And should we be concerned about that then? Because then
no, it's not going to be a lecture. There's going to be lots of poo flying around.
Because all you do is you add lots of poo,
you do.
and then you can get away with being really direct.
So much more vomiting in the script, and I was told I had to take it out.
But if they're doing, because you know how Game of Thrones invented sex position, you could do like didactic with poo or vomit.
Yep.
Or, I mean, that's been invented, but that's a way. It's a way.
It's a way.
Okay,
yeah.
well, that's something to look forward to in your next projects.
Yep,
I think we could totally take some questions
thank goodness.
From everyone.
Hello. Which babies did you miss the most? When you have to decide which ones you're going to keep and which ones you have to let go. I wondered if any of them stayed with you, or how you do that, or how you test doing that, or...
Yes, gorgeous. I missed the scene with Faith. So Uzma, the woman who's Roxy Mohibi, a beautiful actress, there was a whole thing with her where she'd asked her to teach her how to swim. And there was a scene I very much missed.
I saw that in the script,
I very much missed that. I felt like that was a great shame to lose that.
Did you get to film it?
We filmed it, but there just wasn't time. It had to be 90 minutes, 100 minutes. So we just had to choppity-chop.
Oh, and in the days of DVDs, we could have DVD extra.
Cut. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah. So I missed that one. And I missed an intersection between Briar and Natalia. There's a bit where they see each other and they drive past, and I had to cut that out. And I've still missed that.
Thank you. I have a few questions actually, but I can share. I was just thinking about what you were saying about having a message and then having to cut stuff out. And I think there's one thing I've been thinking about is when I'm writing and I'm like, you know what, I really want this film to have this message and speak about this, but I don't want to be so obvious that it almost comes across cheesy or too in your face. And so I was just wondering, how do you find that line between saying something so that the audience get it and sort of can maybe resonate with it, but also sort of delicate enough that it doesn't feel in your face?
Maybe there's that great thing about acting, that wonderful Philip Seymour Hoffman that I was lucky enough to work with at the Sundance Lab. He said to me about Lily, I was working with Lily, and he said, you can never make anything too big if it's true. And I kind of think it's maybe like, and if it's true in the body of a character we were talking about in that, and I kind of think maybe if it's appropriate in the character, maybe like if it's not you writing from out, looking out from out to in, but you're inside the character, then maybe that's a way that it anchors it in something that's authentic and not bombastic.
I can also say something I saw in your script when I was reading, and I don't have the exact quote, but there was a line where Natalia did actually say something quite overtly political that is very much in line with my guess of what Loren would think. And the character that Robin Malcolm played, what's her name?
Hillary, yeah.
Hillary, I don't know, she just went off. She just said something that was completely off topic. And it's sort of weird because it was there, but it was immediately diffused. And there was something, it was pleasurable to hear something direct, but it was immediately, it wasn't undercut. It was just, we shifted sideways and it knew not to overdo it. Like there was that, so Loren definitely had a skill, an innate skill probably in the way that you found the poetry of that.
Maybe like subverting, that thing of subverting something. But also I feel like the way people talk, the way I talk, as you may notice, like very like start, stop, go over there, come back again, forget, come back around, but some people talk like that, and I think it's possible, that's another thing, not having. Why am I even saying that? See, can't remember. Oh, gosh.
And that's the other, I think the other thing that I've heard other people say is that you have things that you want to say, but focus on the story. And so, because your politics can't help but seep through whether you like it or not. They sort of seep in. So if you try not being so didactic in those moments, then, but sometimes you've got to be brave. So it's a fine line. Yeah. Have you got a second question?
One more question was just around collaboration, and you mentioned that you had a couple of collaborators involved. I've got some friends who are fantastic writers, and we're like, oh yes, let's write together. But I'm just not really sure how that process really works. Does someone sort of take the lead and just do a first draft, and then someone else just jumps in? Like, how do you approach collaborating?
There's like 1,000 ways. 1,000. At the moment, I'm writing something, and we're taking, like, we've got a character each in a TV show, and we're kind of doing an arc each. So I think it can, it's a matter of sort of hunting around and seeing what kind of music you play together.
we could have a 5-hour session on that.
Yeah.
But one thing I would say is that sometimes I will do a toe dipping experience. I'll dip my toe in with someone and see how it goes, and I'll try and make something not huge with them. I'll try and make something short with them, and I'll find out whether that's a good experience or not a good experience. And if it's not a good experience, that's okay. I only dipped my toe in, and that's okay. And they're not the right collaborator for me, or I'm not ready for them, or whatever it is. And that's my tiny bit of advice on that. Any other questions?
Yeah, tēnā kōrua. I just questioned Loren around you acting in your movie and directing yourself and directing the others, the sort of relationship between that and how you managed that over a 22-day pretty quick shoot. And I guess the second question I had would have been around improvisation on the day and how much you stuck to your script or felt that you could sort of wander off, because it seems like you had some pretty good improvisers in there.
Yeah, my great sadness is I had those pretty good improvisers, but we didn't have time to improvise. So there's probably 4 lines of improvisation in the whole thing, which is such a bugger. But yeah, we just had to keep the script and move, sadly. Yep.
But maybe that's a good thing, because maybe it means that the voice is so authentically your voice there, and so maybe, incredible
thanks for the silver lining, Doug.
Well, it is one though, because I have just come off reading your script today, and it was really great. So on that front, what a great blueprint anyway. But of course,
that's good. But yeah, and then directing myself, didn't write it for myself. And ended up doing it, and not sure if it was the greatest idea, sort of just as far as we shot Briar's stuff first, And yeah, in a way, at the time it was like I kind of knew, because I'd written her, I knew her, so I felt like I could play her. So I kind of felt like when I was in the scenes, I knew what I wanted because I was in the rhythm of it. So that was kind of easy. And I had my beautiful director's assistant and beautiful, Catherine Bisley here looking at the monitor going, oh, no, Loren, easy. Yeah, collaboration, trusted eyes if you're going to be silly enough to put yourself in your own film and only make it a third. I think rather than, yeah. I realised I don't have as much curiosity for myself as an actor as I do for other people. So I think that's where I got to in the end. Like I'd rather talk to, have a chat rather than chat to myself in my own head about my own process.
Yeah, giving yourself notes.
Oh, boring. Yeah.
So like literally would you you'd do a take and then you would go to the monitor or not go to the monitor?
Catherine, what did we do? Do you remember? It was very fast. There wasn't really time to go to the monitor. Often it was just to go to the monitor to make sure it looked how I wanted it to look.
Because you had a great DOP.
Yep.
And did you so if you know that he is happy with how it looks, then you're just vibing how it feels?
Yep. Yeah. Inside the scene. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which you kind of do when you're acting in something. You kind of, and actors will know that. You know if it's working, you know if it's not. You kind of can feel it. It's a bit off. Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
Tēnā kōrua. I just had a comment and then a question. The comment was I did the toilet paper pad thing a couple of days ago, so I felt very seen by that.
Good.
The details thing very much makes it very like lived in and a world of its own, which is awesome to see. And my question was, how long did this whole thing take? Because you were speaking about editing over 2 years. It was a 22-day shoot, and then you had to write it all before that. So, we're asking you questions about the writing process, but that may have happened, I'm not sure,
1,000
4 or 5
years
years
ago before Christ. Yeah. It was a long time ago. And I think it took, and I also have numerical dyslexia and cannot be trusted with time and numbers very well. I think I was sort of like Jackson Pollocking kind of the script for maybe 2 years on and off, very much on and off. But then when I had intensive writing periods, maybe for a few months at a time. Sorry. Yeah, and that was years ago. Yeah, we shot it 3 years ago.
That's the bit that I'm quite interested in, the Jackson Pollocking your script idea. So there was a period where you were really just going from your gut, being willing to get lost in it. And there's a certain period where you go, okay, they're all my Jackson Pollocks on the wall.
Got to get a draft into the commission. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And so
Yeah.
I better make this make sense or
Yeah.
something. And is that the cards on the wall moment?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And
I am fond of really going in and going in and going in over and over again.
No, I'm like you, but I don't think I think we're the minority. But yeah. Okay, that's very interesting.
Hello. Question for you is, very interesting to hear that it was initially you had planned to have the 3 characters separate, and when it all came together in edit, it just worked better that everyone flowed within each other. Did you have to do a lot of pickups in order to make them all work together in that way?
No pickups to make that work. No, because in the script, the characters did intersect in the way that they did. Well, no, actually, I didn't. I couldn't add in one of them. But no, the pickup, we had 3 days of pickups, and that was some just some connective tissue stuff like walking characters around, and then some changing some endings, trying to get some stuff to make an ending work. I'd like 100 days for the film if I officially shoot it. No, I reckon 28 would be good. I reckon. Yeah, like there were things like we had an hour to get the cows, which was a really big part. We only had an hour to do that one morning, and that was it. So yeah, there were kind of performance-wise, I feel like because I was working with such wonderful people and I've been well taught how to direct. I feel like I can that felt okay. I didn't feel like the performances were lacking because of our time, and in a way it gave it a kind of energy. There's this awesome producer who produced the film Roma, the beautiful film Roma.
It's an amazing film.
Amazing film, yeah. And he was the one who gave us best film at Talon. He was head of the jury, so I've had a bit to do with him since then, and he's a magical dude. And he was saying, actually, I think in a way, often a low budget film has got a kind of energy that gives it a kind of a vitality and a life. So I'm like, there you go. It's fine. 1.5 million, all good. Has a kind of energy all of its own. I just would like time to do a bit more polishing next time. Would be great.
Hey, Loren. You mentioned that your next film is going to include a lot of politics. Great. That's awesome. What are the other big learnings that you had from this process, particularly as a writer, and then seeing the results of your work on screen? Any other big learnings?
Reckon I could write less. I think I wrote more than I wrote more densely than I needed to.
Are you talking about the Jackson Pollock phase, or are you talking about the putting together your first drafts?
Drafts. I love the process of Jackson Pollocking. I'm all for that. I think that works. But yeah, I think I'd possibly just, I feel like I could look at a script now and go, oh, no, you don't need that. You wouldn't have that in the edit. So I think I'd be better at distilling. I think I've learned distilling. Yeah. And maybe be a bit braver. I reckon I could be a bit braver. I reckon too. Yeah.
Thanks, Loren. Thank you for bringing a beautiful film into all of our lives. Speaking as someone in the arts, we're all really happy when some poetry makes it to the screen, because often we feel like a lot of heavy genre stuff seems to be the go in this country for some reason that I've never quite understood, because you take your film overseas and it's considered art house whether you like it or not. So I feel like we might as well just lean in it. And I feel like you must have fought. I feel like, I know you've got such an incredibly charismatic personality, but I feel like the fight in you must have been there all along. And I really praise you, not just for writing a great script and having the follow through to make a beautiful thing, but fighting for it to get through the system and being crafty enough to figure out how to do it and being at this point, which is so richly deserved for you. And I'm very glad it's leading to future opportunities for you. So thanks. It's one for the good guys. So thank you.
Thanks, Doug. And we'd just like to say, not done alone, by no means, as we know, not done alone. Catherine Bisley, Tina Carey. And thank you, everybody.
This podcast is brought to you thanks to generous support from the New Zealand Film Commission, Images and Sound, and White Studios. Recorded and mixed by Images and Sound. You can read more about our talks, workshops, and programs at our website, www.scriptoscreen.co.nz.